Welcome to the debate. Imagine you are sitting in this suffocating, dimly lit VIP room of a five-star club.
Oh, yeah. The air is heavy. It smells bizarrely of expensive aged whiskey mixed with, like, the sharp chemical burn of swimming pool chlorine.
Exactly. It's so visceral. And right across from you sits the most corrupt politician in the country. Your former mentor, actually.
Right.
And you are about to destroy his entire empire using literally nothing but the smartphone in your pocket.
But the catch is, in doing so, do you actually save the public? Or do you just, become the exact same monster you're trying to defeat?
It is the ultimate political trap, right?
Yeah, you think you're breaking the wheel, but maybe you're just learning how to steer it.
So that is the exact scenario we are diving into today. We're looking at Pir Jarl Shah Rashti's brilliantly dark Sindhi literary work, Dim Light or Gadiel Roshni.
Right, and for anyone studying political science, realism, or just the raw mechanics of power, this story is an absolute masterclass.
It really is. I mean, Rashti isn't just writing a thriller here. He's diagnosing a mafia state. He's taking aim at the structural corruption, the money laundering, white-collar crime, the stuff that literally bleeds a society dry.
The real everyday social problems too, right? Like electric or natural gas load shedding, lack of education, just absolute poverty.
Exactly. From fake medicines to fake government jobs, it's all in there. And our focus today is on the protagonist, Elias Carter. He's a newly elected representative having this final confrontation with his political mafia boss, Marcus Vebben.
And it's a confrontation that asks us to define what leadership even is in a broken system.
Right. So the central question we have to grapple with is this. Is Elias Carter a genuine hero of new power? Does he successfully weaponize digital transparency to wake up an exploited public? I've always read Elias as a pragmatic idealist. He knows naive idealism gets you crushed by an entrenched mafia. So he flips the script. He live streams Marcus's corruption.
See, I have to jump in right there.
Go ahead.
Because I see a much darker reflection here. I argue that Elias is a fundamentally compromised operative. He is playing the exact same Machiavellian game as his mentor, just swapping out old school physical intimidation for modern digital manipulation.
Really? The exact same game?
Completely. Look at where Elias is physically and morally at the start of the story. He isn't out in the streets with the people suffering from those fake medicines.
No, he's in the club.
Right. He begins the narrative drinking Marcus's expensive whiskey, lingering in that VIP booth. He only deploys that hidden camera when he is absolutely cornered, specifically when he finds out his trusted secretary has betrayed him. It's entirely reactive. Controlling a live stream narrative isn't empowering the people, it's just self-preservation.
I hear that. But, let's look at the mechanics of what Elias actually does. Marcus Vebben represents old power. And how does old power work?
Closed doors, money, spies.
Exactly. You cannot fight that shadow with a sword. You have to fight it with a spotlight. When Elias uses that micro camera to live stream Marcus Vebben's arrogant confession, he permanently alters the information asymmetry of their political reality.
Let's ground that concept for the listener, though. Information asymmetry.
Oh, sure. So information asymmetry is basically when one party in a system has vastly more information than the other. In a corrupt state, the elite hoard the truth. They know where the money is going, while the public is kept in the dark. By live streaming, Elias democratizes that information instantly.
But I just don't buy that it's an act of pure democratic transparency. Because to understand the live stream, we have to understand Marcus. The man is a textbook case of dark triad personality traits.
Wait, let's pause on that. The dark triad. So we're talking narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, right?
Yes. Someone ruthlessly manipulative and completely lacking in empathy. And Marcus exhibits this in every possible way. He sits in his recliner like a king, surveying his subjects. At one point, he tells Elias that when he walks, the city lights stare at him.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is intense hubris.
Pure hubris. And his political philosophy is pure Machiavellianism. He explicitly states that democracy is a myth. It's just a fairy tale to keep the public compliant while the real game is played behind the curtain. In the context of political realism, Marcus is the only one in that room speaking the absolute truth about the system.
But acknowledging it and exploiting it are two different things. Marcus has engineered a reality where white-collar crime thrives. We are talking about a society, as Roshni describes, plagued by daily agonies.
The lack of basic resources, yeah.
Yes, the public literally doesn't have power or heat due to load shedding. There's rampant drug abuse filling the void of opportunity. Marcus looks at that misery and uses it to enrich himself. That's why Elias's rebellion, even if it's messy, is a moral imperative.
I come at it from a different way. Marcus doesn't look at the misery and wring his hands. He looks at the public and sees willing participants in an illusion. Look at the symbolism of the girl on the dance floor in the text.
Ah, the girl spinning under the lights in the club.
Exactly. She represents the exploited public. Beautiful, deceived, completely used by the powerful. Marcus literally points to her to illustrate his philosophy. The public is distracted, dancing to the tune of the elite, entirely unaware of the structural rot right outside the club stores.
The fake medicine's killing them, the poverty crushing them.
Right. Marcus doesn't sugarcoat this. He sees that the lack of awareness isn't an accident. It's a condition the public accepts because the illusion is comfortable. Elias, on the other hand, wants to maintain the naive illusion that the public actually has agency.
I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective on Marx's view. Marcus points to the girl to justify his own pathological need for control. His cynicism is a reaction formation. To protect his own ego, he became the monster he fought. He has to believe the public is stupid, otherwise he has to face the guilt of exploiting them.
But does Elias actually change that dynamic?
Yes, because Elias refuses to accept that the public's condition is permanent. Look at Rushdie's use of contrast. The dim light of the club represents suppressed truth and backroom deals. But at the climax, when Elias walks out of the club after the live stream, what does he see?
The crowd in the street.
Thousands of people, and they have all turned on their mobile phone torches. That transition from the artificial dim light of the oppressor's club to the autonomous bright light of the public, it's a psychological catharsis. It proves that when you break the information asymmetry, the public will mobilize.
That's a compelling argument, and it's definitely the emotional peak of the story. But, have you considered the analogy of the disco ball within the text?
The disco ball. Okay, walk me through that.
Because Rushdie doesn't just give us the dim light, he deliberately focuses on the glittering, fractured light of the disco ball spinning above the dance floor. A disco ball doesn't emit any light of its own. It takes a single artificial beam and scatters it into 1,000 tiny distractions.
Oh, interesting.
Right? It represents the highly transactional, distracting nature of political media. When Elias uses his hidden camera to broadcast the scandal, isn't he just spinning the disco ball in his own favor?
You're saying he's just using a new form of distraction?
Precisely. He is fracturing the public's attention to blind his opponent. If you look closely at Elias's internal stream of consciousness as he swirls the whiskey in his glass, it mirrors the unstable nature of his own political stances. He just wants to beat the master at his own game.
I'm not convinced by that line of reasoning. It feels too cynical, and frankly, it ignores the profound emotional and structural sacrifices made in this story. Think about real-world whistleblowers. When someone leaks a corrupt official's audio online, it's not just a game. Lives are ruined. Let's look at Zuleika, Marcus's own daughter.
The ultimate betrayal in Marcus's eyes, yeah.
Exactly. Zuleika steps out of the VIP area holding the actual physical documents that prove her father's scandals, the money laundering, the fake government contracts. She sacrifices her dynastic bloodline to expose the truth.
True, she does hand over the documents. She tells her powerful father that truth and justice are more sacred than relationships. You cannot tell me that it's just Elias spinning a disco ball. Zuleia's choice proves that Elias is inspiring genuine moral awakenings within the heart of the mafia.
That is a very romantic read of the situation, but you are focusing on the one betrayal that frames Elias as an inspirational figure, while totally ignoring the betrayal that forced his hand in the first place. What about Samir?
His secretary?
His most trusted secretary, the man Elias confided everything in. What do we actually learn about Samir?
That he was an undercover spy? Right. He's been on Marcus's payroll for 3 years. Every move Elias made to help the public get clean water or real medicine was recorded and sold to the mafia. In an ecosystem where your closest allies are bought, Elias throwing that digital grenade isn't some grand moral awakening. It is a desperate Darwinian survival tactic.
But even if the catalyst was self-preservation, the result of that digital grenade is what matters for the exploited masses. We have to focus on what Elias actually says. He looks at Marcus and says, "People are not tails."
Meaning they aren't meaningless followers.
Right. It's a profound philosophical rejection of Machiavellianism. And the ending of the story demonstrates that while power can hide the truth, it cannot permanently kill it. The immediate mobilization of the crowd outside proves that the apathy is a politically induced coma, and transparency is the cure.
Do they genuinely awake, though, or do they just change their target of worship? This is where we have to confront Marcus's haunting final question.
Oh, the siren zine.
Yeah. As the police sirens wail and are closing in, Marcus doesn't beg. He asks Elias, when the lights go out and the music stops, who will they believe? A man who rules over them, or a man who shouts slogans on an empty stomach?
That line always gives me chills.
It is terrifying. That is the question of a structural realist who understands power dynamics. He is telling Elias, you can show them the truth, but when they are starving because the economy is rigged, they will still crave a strong man.
I hear the weight of that question, I really do. But physically, in the scene, Marcus is defeated. The text makes a point of showing him dropping his whiskey glass. It shatters on the floor. His hubris shatters with it. The illusion is broken.
He is arrested, yes. But the system itself, the system remains completely intact. Rashti intentionally leaves the ending open. As Elias walks away from the club, the neon sign of the five-star hotel is flickering in the background.
The flickering sign.
It suggests the cyclical nature of this political tragedy. The sign implies that, yes, there's a glitch in the matrix tonight, but the club will open again tomorrow. The elites will find the new VIP booth. The tragedy is that the public might just be trading one mafia boss for a younger, more tech-savvy one.
See, I interpret that silence and flickering sign completely differently. To me, that is the heavy burden of real leadership settling on his shoulders. Elias is stepping out of the dim light of theoretical rebellion and into the harsh reality of actual governance.
By using deception?
He weaponized Marcus's own hubris against him. Letting a tyrant speak his arrogance into a live microphone is the ultimate democratic defense. It shows you don't need a billion-dollar media empire to fight corruption. A smartphone and a true conscience can dismantle a machine.
Calling it a true conscience, though, requires us to ignore his methods. The deep irony here is that Elias defeats Marcus using a hidden camera, a concealed motive, a violation of privacy. These are the exact tools of the oppressive state. Surveillance, narrative control, propaganda.
But the intent?
The realist take is that morality is entirely subjective in the pursuit of power. Elias didn't win because he had a purer soul. He won because he executed a superior tactical maneuver. A live stream doesn't fix a power grid. Tomorrow morning, they still have to navigate a society plagued by systemic poverty and failing infrastructure.
It doesn't fix a power grid, no. But you cannot have structural reform without first having the psychological awakening of the populace. That's the critical first step. Yes, Elias used deception, but Elias used deception to expose a truth, whereas Marcus used deception to maintain a massive, harmful lie.
A lie the public was comfortable with.
But a lie nonetheless. By exposing that, Elias permanently shatters the mythology of the ruling class. The narrative gives us a blueprint for modern resistance. It tells the public that their oppressors are not invincible gods. They are just fallible, arrogant men drinking whiskey in the dark.
I agree he shatters one myth, but my fear is that he immediately begins constructing his own. Rashti's use of the stream of consciousness shows us Elias is constantly fighting his own ego. When he steps outside, he physically leaves the club, but psychologically, he takes the methodology of the club out into the street with him.
I still see a protagonist evolving into a capable leader, not an anti-hero. Elias's actions result in a massive, undeniable public good.
The climax is a literal transfer of power from the back room to the street. It's the reclamation of agency.
A temporary transfer, perhaps. Let's look at where we land on this, because I think the genius of this story is exactly this tension we've been exploring. From my perspective, Dim Light is a dark, existential critique. It demonstrates that a deeply corrupt political ecosystem forces even the supposed heroes to adopt Machiavellian tactics.
You really think it just leaves us with a smarter mafia?
I do. It leaves us wondering what the future of living in that condition actually looks like.
And I would summarize my perspective by asserting that the story, while dark, refuses to surrender to that cynicism. Elias Carter shows us that by overcoming information asymmetry and maintaining core moral courage, you can genuinely awaken an exploited public. The thousands of phone torches illuminating the street is a definitive victory for new power.
I think regardless of which side we land on, we can both firmly agree that Pir Jalal Shah Rushdie has brilliantly captured the intense psychological burden of power.
Absolutely. The text is a masterclass in political allegory. It doesn't just tell you a political system is broken, it makes you feel the rot.
It really does. He uses vivid sensory details to make the reader deeply feel the tragedy of a public used as mere pawns in an elite game. The way he layers the psychological profiles elevates this far beyond a simple political thriller.
It forces us to examine our own realities. It challenges us to look at the apathy in our societies, our own acceptance of failing infrastructure and quiet corruption, and ask what it will actually take to spark an awakening.
Indeed, it all comes back to that suffocating smell of swimming pool chlorine and expensive whiskey, the sheer luxury that masks the societal decay.
And it leaves us, as readers and as citizens, pondering Marcus Venbin's final lingering question.
When the lights finally go out and the music stops, who do you truly believe?